Can you all hear me? I think you can hear me now. Yes. Can you all see me now? I think you could see me now. Yes.
Yes.
And again, sorry. I think, like I say, we've had a little bit of a challenge. I had to very quickly jump on it. So
Can you all see me now? I think
one
you could
second.
see
I
me
think
now.
I
Yes.
have as well there.
Yeah, sorry. I think, like I say, we've had a little bit of a challenge. I had to very quickly jump on it. So can you all see me now?
Okay.
I have as well there. Yeah, sorry. I think, like I say, we've had a little bit of a challenge. I had to very quickly jump on it. Can you jump on it? So can you all see me now?
1 second, guys. I don't know where the sound is actually coming. Do people have the camera on? Because the thing is, it looks like I can see.
I don't know where the sound is actually coming.
Alfonso, can you hear me? Well, because it was like, yeah, it looks like a now. It looks like
I
now.
can hear you well, Tony. I think it's, but there was an echo earlier on.
Yeah. I think okay. I think, yeah, apologies for that, guys. I think now we should be back on track now. Like I say, this is actually what
I can hear.
I don't understand actually why we have.
So can you hear me? Well,
Oh my God.
it was
1
like,
second.
yeah, it looks like a now.
I can hear you well, Tony. I think it's, but there was an echo earlier on.
Yeah. I think okay. I think, yeah, apologies for that, guys. I think now we should be back on track now. Like I say, this is actually what's
First time we're having to run through such an issue.
understand actually why we have. So can you hear me? Well,
Oh my God.
it was like, yeah, it looks like a now.
I can hear you well, Tony. I think it's, but there was an echo earlier on.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
okay. I
Absolutely.
think, yeah, apologies for that, guys. I think now we should be.
Okay, I think I found I ultimately found the problem. Okay, I think now we're back on track. So sorry for that, guys. I think now we're back on track, so we should be able to run the session without any round, because now I have attended all the issue that we had. Yes, we've done it. Excellent. So welcome everybody, and then welcome to this session. So it's a pleasure for me to have you here. So we're gonna go through a very interesting session it's a little workshop that we have in front of us, and then and special technical workshop. It's called the Mastering O&M for Vestas and Siemens Turbines. So I'm Tony Tio from Renewables in Africa. So I'm going to be the host for the next 15 minutes or so, and very excited to bring you this session in partnership with AFF Wind. As I say, we're just going to turn it as a course, and later on, obviously, it will be available for people that are not able to get hold of it. And one thing that I like to do right now. Make sure, yes. So for all of you to want to know, so we are recorded. So welcome again. So yeah, Tony to you here. So we're gonna go to this technical workshop talking about mastering O&M, Vestas and Siemens turbines in focus, and and it's gonna be for the next 50 minutes or so. So we're excited to be able to do that with our partner AFF Wind. AFF Wind is one of Europe's fastest growing wind service provider. They are actually known for their expertise in site supervisions and also now operational maintenance. That's why we wanted to talk about that. And not only they cover one type of turbine, but actually they've expanded that to multiple now. This is why it was quite timely. And I just want to give you a lot of practical value in today's workshop. So we're going to talk about some railway insight from the field, what actually it takes to manage, to maintain, but also to optimize both Vestas and also Siemens. And obviously our special guest, it's Afonso Faria, so who's the CEO of founder and also AFF Wind. So and he's been on the ground leading with his team across Europe and also expanding now into the continent. So we'll begin by, let me just show you first of all what's going to be the plan for today. So I'm going to be sharing my screen so that I can show you what we about to, yeah, let me just share. Okay. Just go back to the plan just to show you. So what we're going to do, it's first of all, we'll go through the we go through a quick poll that I'm gonna run in a minute. Just give you some quick highlights, what's happening on the ground. So we have a very extensive Q&A with Alfonso. So after that, some of you want to have a chance to have a further conversation. I'll give you the chance to do so, and then Q&A with the audience before we actually wrap up. So that is actually what we would do. And without further ado, so what I want to run now with you is to do a very quick poll survey, for whoever, for the people that are there. So allow me just to start it. So you'll see that in a minute. And what I want you to do is to just give us your understanding of it. So don't worry, we don't want it to be perfect, just some idea of where you at with that. So what you think, and then how we could take how we could take forward. So first of all, what is your level of experience for wind turbine O&M? So if you're new, just let me know you're new. So and so on and so forth. So if you have some practical exposure, you work in regular wind, yeah. So like I said, just take this is not, there's no trap in here, guys. Just take an estimated guess. Let me know. The second question, so which turbine brand you work with best? Vestas, Gamesa, GE, Nordex, none of it. You let me know as well. That I want to know. So what is your biggest challenge in O&M today? Yeah. Is it diagnosing fault and failures, coordinating field, accessing parts and tools, managing multiple type? Yeah, I know it's a very technical. We want it to be quite technical because, like I say, so this you'll be happy to know that's turning into a call, so you got obviously getting it for free. But later on, we obviously gonna repurpose it. So just let us know. I'm just gonna run that again for another 30 seconds or so. And yeah, I can see some people say the people that are there that they knew. Some say that he has exposure to O&M, but I can't see anybody technical right now. Vestas is a lot of Vestas at the moment, so none of it. So diagnosing fault and failures, managing multiple turbine types, that is actually what we're saying. Okay, just to make sure that we don't spend too much time on it, because I know that at the beginning we have a little bit of a technical issues. So I'm just gonna stop the poll survey now and then share the results so we see. So the large majority of people so at the moment are new to O&M, and I think one person has some practical exposure, excellent, and he was on Vestas and diagnosing fault and failure. So that's clearly the issue that we see in managing multiple types. Yeah, that's great. So that means you're actually on the right section in here. Excellent. I'm just gonna stop sharing that. I'm just gonna put that away. So we're just gonna carry on with our program and see how we could go through some of these questions. But before we even go further, so I just wanted to first of all introduce you to Afonso. I think Afonso just stop. I don't know if I still sharing. No, I'm not sharing. So Afonso, can you hear me?
I can hear you well, Tony. Hi, everyone.
Excellent, excellent. So Afonso, I think maybe if I wanted to know if it's possible, first of all, for you to very briefly, well, to yourself, the company O&M, and then the expertise that you've developed. And after that, I have a couple of a few evocative pictures that I want to take you through, and then you
Yeah.
tell me obviously what it reminds you of. Yes, please.
Yeah, so for the ones that don't know, Afonso Faria, I'm the owner owner and CEO of AFF Wind Services. We are in the business now coming close to 10 years. More actively busy with since 2020, 21. That is when we really set off to do a little bit bigger things and grow a little bit more. Before that, it was more of a one-man um, company with every now and then we would supply some services. But the main focus I started in 21. Since then, we have grown quite a lot. And over the last year, we have put more focus into supporting a more wide, or to have a wider branch and a wider spread over the industry, support more and grow more, and gain also more knowledge from different areas and different types of works. So recently, we are also doing O&M and supervision, installation supervision, and we have also stepped into other clients, other big players within the renewable industry. This has come with a lot of lessons learned. This has come with a lot of headaches and a lot of stuff that we take forward and that we grow with and build on.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Alfonso. And then obviously I've seen you grow over the last couple of years. So it's been an interesting journey so far. And what I want to share in here with our colleagues here, like I say, so we have a private exclusive session that we're doing here. And I think I've wanted to give a feel to people as to what it is really to 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 look after wind turbines. And by the way, that's one good thing that we decide we're gonna do, Alfonso. I think for the people that attend, so what we're gonna do afterwards, share a few links, a couple of links, interesting YouTube videos telling you a lot more about behind the scenes, basically the inside of the wind turbine, so you get to understand what are the kind of challenges we're going to be mentioning in here, so you get a better understanding. So, but before I do that, like I say, so I had in here a few pictures, so I just wanted you, Alfonso, just to talk us through some of these pictures. I can see,
Yeah,
uh,
so this is actually the O&M team. We are doing some changes and some upgrades to the turbines. This is just our recent fleet that we had to upgrade. Again, another lessons learned. We do have vans and service vans and cars and so on. But once we started to grow into O&M and have heavier tools and more tools, all of a sudden the van started to be a little bit too small, so we needed to upgrade. So this is one of the new add-ons to the fleet that we have made just over the last couple of months. Yeah.
that's excellent. Okay, excellent. Let me just move on to the next picture. So I love this one. You can see that I have you in the background. It's almost like I'm sitting, yeah, on the top of the turbine. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the view from a wind farm. Now I need to be careful here placing myself on which wind farm it is, but I do believe this is in North Finland. But so this is the view from the top of Nasal, top of one of the wind turbines, and this is done when the supervisors or the owners engineers, when they are doing their walk downs, their quality inspections, which is something that we've gained more and more experience with and started to do more and supply more, which is the quality assurance. So when they climb up to these turbines, one of the beautiful things that they have is these beautiful views, and that's something that not everyone that is working in an office can understand and can even fathom to imagine how beautiful it can be. So this is the view from a turbine. This is, if this yet, and I'm not sure if this is Germany or Finland, but either way, this is on a height that is going to be above 150 meters height. So.
Yeah, excellent. So let me just move on. I'm just gonna get to the next picture. Yeah, that one is great as well.
Yeah, this is Lithuania. We were just finishing the last turbine of a project, so that's us completing the last installation. Yeah, and that's lifting up a blade.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks for that. I think, yeah. Oh, yeah, that one as well. Yes. And that's one of your vehicles, am I correct in saying that?
That is one of the. So this is actually the first vehicle that we've purchased. Once we started to grow a little bit more, this is the first 4x4 that we've purchased. That was back in 2020 that we bought this car. This is in Germany. End of the day, site manager is just ready to go home, and our office is luckily. We take that for granted sometimes, but our office is always remote. So sometimes we have beautiful views and beautiful sunsets. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's and that site team member. So how late could it does it usually go home to? So when does it start? What time does it start in the morning? What time does it finish? Just to get an idea, broad sense of what it. So that.
Yeah. So this is something that so the working times and the working the starting times and the end times, basically the working hours per day is something that luckily is changing. I'm used to an industry where in the beginning or some years ago, go back more than 10 years ago, we used to do a minimum 12 hours, or 12 hours was more or less normal, 7 to 7. Nowadays we are improving a lot towards the working hours and the workload. Typically we are working 7 to 5, so 10 hours. That is what we do maximum. And then of course we are also taking into consideration how many hours we are actually working over a span of 14 weeks, sometimes less than 14 weeks, that we on average we have 40 to 48 hours maximum working hours. So that means that we have a rotation that is healthy for the guys. The guys can work, but they also need to spend time off with their family. It's not just about work, work, work. We also need to make sure that we have a stability and also some kind of balance between the time that we are out there and the time that we actually spend with family or alone or wherever, as long as we have time for ourselves.
Yeah, that's actually makes sense. Thanks for that, Alfonso. Like, if you have any questions regarding these sessions, like I say, feel free to drop the question, so we make sure that we respond to that. So start putting that in the comments now. So I have my colleague Brian, who's going to be taking the questions, and you share that with me so that I can talk about that. I can obviously voice them, and Alfonso can respond. Or if you want later on, you can raise your hand as well. So we're going to be able to unmute you and get the question. So obviously we broadcast on various platforms just for you to let you know. So Alfonso, I think I stopped sharing here. I think what I want to go through with you now, it's a few Q&A sessions, that I've prepared just for us to get a better understanding, and for people who may be new into the sector, want to find out more interested, maybe because they are building a project at the moment, they are stepping into the industry, and they like to understand a bit more. So those questions will help them to understand. And also the whole idea is to talk about your expertise, expose that. And the first question I have for you in here, it's what are the most common maintenance issues that you've seen with Vestas turbine, and how do you typically address them?
I would say the most common or the most seen is regular maintenance. Regular maintenance is something that needs to be done on time and in due time, and correctly also. If that's done, then most of the issues are not well. How can I say that? If the regular maintenance or the interval maintenance is done on its due time, in time, then most of the times we don't see small errors, small failures that come up afterwards. So that's the most important one. So that is not something that I'm seeing that keeps on coming back as an issue. We do see that turbines that have not been maintained properly, they seem to be a little bit more temperamental. And then that requires stoppages and so on. So if we do service on time and in time, and if we take care of all the things, if we make sure that we adjust, that we check everything that needs to be checked, and that we go a little bit further, that we anticipate, warnings and so on, and look into them, then those turbines, they run nonstop. If we are a little bit negligent towards that, then we start to see issues with oil levels, sensors, liquid levels, and so on. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And how do Vestas and Siemens Turbine differ in terms of O&M? So do you have specific protocols that teams should be aware of, or is it exactly the same?
No, it's of course everyone has their own specific work instructions, procedures, and also their intervals. So Siemens has their own interval, Vestas has also a different interval for maintenance. But basically, it's not all the same. Of course, it's different, but it comes down to the same basics, which is powertrains, bearing, lubrifications, and testing of signals and sensors. So it comes down to the same, more or less. Um, the difference is, of course, when we go into Siemens, then we need a specific turbine-related training so that we know exactly how to operate those turbines. And the same with Vestas, then we know the exact systems on those turbines, and we know the exact way to work with them. But it goes down to the same principle, basic needs, which is powertrains, bearings, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think I've seen a question coming up. Excellent, guys. So keep dropping the question. I'm definitely going to make sure that I include your question as we go ahead, and I'll make sure that we prioritize them as well. Just have a couple of additional questions for Alfonso before I go to the Q&A because like I say, so we want to have it as a workshop for you guys. So ask us question, and we're just going to share that. As I say later on, this video would be obviously removed from circulations. So feel free to ask a question that you want here. So whenever Alfonso will respond, he respond to that. So that's why I'm going to prioritize your question that you have present here in the audience, and as well as the question that I've shared. So thank you already for sending the question. I think that was Talent that sent the question. Excellent. So one more question before I go to Talent questions. So what kind of tool or diagnostic does AFF rely on in the field, especially when we're talking about remote or hard to reach site? Because you did mention that your office sometimes are actually remote.
What do you mean with remote, due to being remote? As a communication tools?
No, so because I guess you work sometimes at sites that are quite far afield, removed from town or cities, yeah. So I guess you need to have they're far from they're far from cities, right? So they're in the field. So I guess you need to have with you all the tools necessary in order for you to do your job. So you can't really rely on, okay, I'm just gonna quickly drive back in town and
No,
pick it
okay.
with, yeah. So that's why I was
Yeah,
asking what kind of tool or diagnostic
yeah,
your team rely on when they're in the field,
yeah,
especially when they fire fail.
yeah. No, of course, now I understand. Of course, we need to have both mechanical, electrical, and measuring tools. That's what we have as well. So when you are working remotely, as you mentioned, it's all about preparation. And if we're going to do a service job, a regular maintenance job, then of course we need to be prepared. We need to make sure that we have all the spare parts, all the consumables, and all the tools for the job. That means that with the preparation goes checking work instructions, checking procedures, and making sure that you have all the tools with you. In general, and that is a very generic view, in general, tightening tools, electrical tools, measuring tools, that's what we have. Of course, we only work up to a specific scope of works. So we don't go into high voltage. We don't have all of that high voltage equipment, but we do have other regular voltage testing equipment. Hydraulic tools is a little bit more complicated when it comes to tensioning tools and so on. Especially nowadays, the tools have become bigger, different as well, more expensive as well. So it's all about preparation before the team goes. For example, in Spain, we're doing a job where the tools that we need are a little bit different than had we been doing service on the most recent turbines. So it's all about preparing. When we get the job, we prepare and see what the work actually is, what the tools are actually needed, and then we either rent them or we buy them. Most of the times we buy them, and just make sure that they are maintained as well. Yeah. That is also one of the important things. Make sure that they are maintained and properly looked after.
Yeah, and I think that's and I guess those two they aren't they aren't cheap, isn't it? So you gotta look after them.
Well, as we speak, I'm waiting for one of the tools to be repaired. It was just a small issue that happened, and the tool started leaking. So that's a repair that the tool it needs to undergo, and it's just a small O-ring and some fittings. And the quotation that I got was nearly 4,000 euros. So,
Wow. Okay. Okay.
so,
That's a bit of a yeah. Okay.
and that is just to repair a tool because one of the technicians was a little bit less thoughtful when he was using that tool. Yeah. I tell when I give the tools to the guys, I have a tendency to tell them how expensive it is, because when I see them picking up a tool and throwing it into the van sometimes, or not being so gentle with it, and the tool is 10,000, 12,000 euros, that's heartbreaking sometimes.
I can imagine. Yeah, definitely. So, how do you actually ensure quality control when you are managing your O&M team across multiple countries or turbine types?
It's about both. That's a trick question. That's a trick question. You can only manage quality control up to the level of trust that you have in your team. So you need to trust your team that they are doing their best, and they actually know that their best is the same as your standards. And then with trust comes also checkups and following ups and regular follow-up, regular talks and reviews and checks. So by that, what I mean is that you can send a team out there that you don't trust, or you don't put trust into them. It's not that you don't trust, but you don't put trust into them. You just send them out there and that's it. And you believe they're going to do a good job. And it might look okay, but you won't know until there's a complaint, because you're not physically there and your lead is not physically there. So you need to put trust into people. People need to understand that you trust them and that you trust that they'll do a good job. And then you need to follow up and you need to check up on documentation. Has it been done correctly? Pictures that are being sent with the progress of the works, analyze them sometimes and look a little bit deeper into the picture. Maybe there's things that you see there that are not really 100% how it should be. And then just talk with the guys. Listen, guys, let's improve. So the quality assurance goes as far as there is trust, mutual trust between each other.
And I have a question from Talent here. So, and he's asking, so what do you do to minimize downtime and to reduce generation and revenue losses?
Being effective. Yeah. On the work.
Yeah. So you mean, okay, being effective. And does it happen on a regularly, or how often would you say that you see downtime in those sites on average? I'm not asking you to mention any specific.
It's about, especially on our end, especially us that is supplying a service to a customer. And most of the times we supply a service that is not paid by the hour, it's paid by the piece, by the turbine. So it doesn't really matter for us, right? So, for example, if we are doing a job that is supposed to take an X amount of hours, we get the same money. If we do X or triple X amount of hours, we get the same amount of money. The technicians will get more money or the same depending on what contract with them. And it might seem that it doesn't really matter, but for the customer it does matter, and it matters a lot actually, because they will have lost revenue on the turbine, they will have lost production of that turbine. So we need to be effective. We need to understand that whenever we are doing a service in that turbine, the teams that are doing a service in that turbine, they need to look into the customer's perspective and try to be as effective as possible. So of course, sometimes you can't reach targets because of whatever reasons, but then make sure that this is sustained by by a reasoning behind it. You know, maybe the job just took longer because there was something wrong, but it needs to be understood why. Yeah. So we need to be quite clear on effectiveness.
It does make sense. It does make sense as well. So thank you very much, Alan, for your questions. If you have any other follow-up questions, don't hesitate to do so. And also, I will invite anybody else who wants to ask the question to Alfonso. Please make sure that you do that, because what we're going to do, we're just going to take it as we go along to make sure that we cover as much information as possible. So I think I want first of all, would you say that the O&M, so how much does what's the percentage of work that you're getting related to O&M these days? 'Cause I know you were obviously quite strong in site supervision. I think that's probably the main bread and butter. But O&M, so so what's the proportion now? Is that 20%, 30% of the job that you're getting nowadays? Or
No, currently O&M is about maybe 10%, 10, 12%. Yeah.
10, 12%. Okay. But that's
Of
something
the overall business. So, but that is at this moment now. If we go back to beginning of the year, then O&M was maybe 30%. But since then,
okay.
we've grown into other service suppliers as well, into other scopes as well. But it's supervision and more owners engineered. So we actually the O&M just grew. It seems smaller now because we grew into other regions and into other
Okay.
scopes. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So do you have so what do you envision, maybe to build a stronger team in O&M, or you just go as per what, because I know you're a service provider, ultimately what your job is to do is to help clients to make sure that their site runs well and deliver according to the objective. So do you have a vision to develop a specific strong O&M team, or you pretty much just look at what the client needs the most and you decide to go and grow the team in that area or sector?
No, so my thought behind it, my strategy behind this is that an O&M team builds a strong technician with strong knowledge, and the strong technician with strong knowledge is the base foundation for the strong supervisor, and then the strong supervisor is the base foundation for the strong site manager. So my goal is actually to build from the start. So of course, not every technician will grow into that, but to have the technicians that is doing O&M to potentialize them, develop them further. At the end of the day, if we're not developing people, then we're not really doing much as a company. That's my opinion. We need to develop people so that they grow stronger and they'll grow better and they go into something else again. So if we make big or strong technicians, we have a good baseline for strong supervisors and so on.
Yeah, excellent. So I have a couple of questions coming from Peter here. Peter, we're just going to come to your question in a minute. Just one additional question for Alfonso. So what step should operator take to extend the lifespan of aging turbine, especially when you talk about onshore settings?
Like I said earlier on, when we can go into a turbine and do just our scope of works, and it could be just a regular maintenance where we're just checking liquids and lubrication and so on, or we can do that, but we can look into what's coming up and maybe take care of that as well if we see that something is not in our checklist, but we see that it's running low or that it's running, with a warning, for example. Most of the turbine manufacturers, they have warnings and diagnostic tools that can show what has failed already and what could potentially be an issue. So if we look into that a little bit, if we take just a little bit more time per day to just look into that, even though sometimes that's not in our scope, but if we are careful with that, and at least we can report it and identify it, someone else can look into that, or ourselves, then that usually that helps the lifespan of the turbines.
Okay. And how do you balance cost efficiency with quality when you deliver O&M services? Because you were talking about earlier on about the example of the tool that people are shouting back in the back of the van, and whereas obviously it's quite costly.
Knowing your budgets. It's knowing your budgets and knowing your time budgets. That's where it goes into. At least that's from my perspective. That's what I look into. So I know exactly the time that the budget timeline that needs to be spent on each task. I know the limits as well and the maximum as well. So if I see that the team is spending a little bit too much because they are being overly cautious, then I will tell them, listen, guys, you're doing a very good job, but we are losing time here, losing money. But if I see that the team is doing a job and they can still find or not find that we are looking for faults, but they can help the customer, help the turbine, and fault find a little bit and fix a couple of things, and we are still within that limit and that margin of times, I'll encourage them to keep on doing so and keep on reporting that as well, so that the customers can see that there is something they need to take care of and they need to follow up. So it's all about knowing your budget. It's all about knowing how, not only your budget, money wise, but also your budget hour wise. How much time can you actually spend per week per turbine and still be within profitable margin?
Excellent, excellent. So another quick questions, because I know that people attending, obviously, people that will be listening later. So they will want to know, because some of them want to get into the field. So what kind of technician training is needed to service both Vestas and Siemens turbines?
Yeah, so it's becoming more, and that's actually good. It's a good question, and it's a good point as well. It's getting more into each specific manufacturer. So each manufacturer, they are developing their own. They have already developed, but they are targeting more their own specific turbine training or specific training, and that is then what is developed or what helps to develop a strong technician or a strong team that is strong with Siemens or with Vestas. The background will always be mechanical and electrical, preferably also hydraulic background. If you have such a background, then I'm quite sure that you can pick up on all the training modules and all the training programs that we send the team to. For example, one of the biggest trainings nowadays, one of the most important also, is log out, tag out, which is electrical training, electrical awareness training. If you have no clue on what electricity is or does, because your background is simply not that, you will struggle to understand why it is that you need to put a tag on an electrical circuit before you actually start working on it. So the strong background is mechanical, electrical.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So that means people listening here, if you have a good electrical, mechanical background, so that could potentially be of an interest. So let me just tap into Peter's question. I think another one here. I have a couple of questions. So it said, how do you normally structure your O&M contract from O&M practitioner perspective? So what thing do you normally what thing do you normally not want to do? So it looks like two things here. So how do you structure your O&M contract, from an O&M practitioner perspective, and what do you not do? If that makes sense. What thing do you not want to do? That's the question.
Yeah. So the contracts nowadays, they're pretty much set. I mean, the industry is already mature enough that the contracts is already set. There is no companies here making their own contracts and their own deals. That doesn't mean that you cannot make your own. That we cannot make a specific agreement for a specific task. Of course, all within rates, within all within rates and all within scope of works. So the contracts is already there. What I look for in contracts is timelines, if it's feasible, if it's not feasible, needs, what do we supply, what we don't supply, and then I just make sure that those the rates are at a healthy level and also at the level where we are actually being competitive without destroying the market. Things that I normally do not want to do is exactly that, is go into rates that are way below what they should be, because eventually that hurts the market. That's things that I will not go into. I will simply pass on, and I've done so in the past as well. I've passed on contracts in the past simply because the rates was not good enough. When I say good enough, it's not that we need to all become rich here, but we have benchmarks that we should not go under. Another thing that I have a tendency not to do is I will not typically not go into a O&M contract into supplying a service that I don't know how to do that service, or I don't have anyone in my team that I can put in front of that service. For example, I would not go into an O&M contract where we're doing paint and fiber repairs, for example, simply because I don't have anyone with that expertise within my team that can do that. And I would not be able to supply a service that I would not be able to supply quality assurance for something that I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. I mean, thanks for responding that, because actually, the person actually did provide it more detail on the question, which was talk about the compromise between the scope, the KPI, and the pricing, which you kind of covered in the response here. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
So, what are, according to you, that's another question. What are the industry's benchmarks for O&M fees? For the full O&M scope in utility scale onshore wind project. Is there
Yeah.
any benchmark for the fees?
I will not go into numbers. I'll not go into numbers simply because it differs. Differs between, for example, in Europe, there's a difference between what region in Europe we're actually working. If we're working in the Mediterranean, or if we are working in the Nordics or Balkan or whatever, there are different fees. So I'll not go into numbers. I will say that the benchmark, at least that's my strategy, and that's what I believe we should have into consideration. The benchmark is we need to understand the needs. Sometimes O&M comes with a very heavy structure, not structure, but with a very heavy investment on tools. Tools and equipment can be really expensive. Manpower is the least expensive when it comes to O&M. And that is something that I've learned from my own experience. I mean, manpower is only maybe 15% of all the expenses that I've had last year just to get two teams working. So, yeah, the benchmark is just set your goals, understand exactly what it is that you need to invest in, and understand the lifespan of the contract as well, and then understand what the return will be on that lifespan during that lifespan of that contract and those works.
Yeah, thanks for that. So, I think Brian, if you can hear me in the in the audience here, so feel free to drop the link for the one-to-one. If there is anybody who want to take the conversation a little further, so because I think there's some Alfonso is bound by some confidentiality rules as well of client that's working on. So there's some area he can't expand into. Maybe in the one-on-one conversation, there's a lot more he may be able to say or not. So he decide. But if you want to have further conversation with Alfonso, please feel free to do so. So Brian, if you could hear me, let's feel free to drop the link here. If not, while Alfonso responding, I'll also will do that. So we have about 5 minutes or so to wrap up before obviously we get to the hours. But I just want to have, if you have a question, like I say, now is the time to drop it before we close. So I know that it's a very challenging job because that's engineering, right? So you plan everything, but if situation happen. Can you share a recent challenge or field issue that tested your team approach?
That tested my team approach.
Yeah. So something obviously like that didn't come as per your plan, right? But you had to react because you looking after the site, you gotta still find a way to deliver for the client?
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, so I would say there's a couple of things, or of course, one is planning, work planning, and sometimes it doesn't go as planned. For example, at the moment, I have a couple of teams that is actually not working this week, and that's just something that we cannot influence. That's the weather, so we can only sit back and take the hit budget wise. That's nothing else that we can do. But one of the things that we should do service suppliers, although it comes with some costs towards it, is we were, for example, doing a work for one of our clients, and we have all the tools for it. We have all the standard needed tools for it, but then we came to a situation where the tools that we have simply don't fit. So we needed to buy different tools. Um, this brings into some issues where the work cannot progress. We need to stop the works, and we need to also find a solution. So our mindset is there is nothing that cannot be fixed. Sometimes it just takes time. For sure, it's going to cost money, but sometimes it just takes time. So what we've done straight away is we've replanned according to all the works that we have within our scope. We've replanned the team so that they can continue to work with the tools that we have and we know that fit. And then meanwhile, we've contacted all our suppliers straight away. We're talking about sockets for dismounting bolts. So straight away, we've gone in contact with our suppliers. We bought different sockets that do fit, that have slightly different dimensions, that do fit. We bought them, we got them back to site, and the team could go back to those to that work and continue the works. So, and in the end, it comes down to not stopping because there is an issue, but just finding a different way of continuing to work and finding and solving that issue. We could also simply go back to the hotel and wait for the solution, or we can keep on working and find that solution anyway. Either way, we need to take action. Either way, it's like time, right? Time is
Yeah,
going to tick either way. We can sit all day thinking about how we're going to deal with something, or we can get the teams working on something else while we are rearranging things in the background. Either way, time is going to tick. There's nothing that cannot be fixed. It just takes time and money, but that's the risk of the game. It takes money to make money, so just have to keep going.
excellent. So one last question for you, Alfonso. So how are you preparing for predictive maintenance or next generation asset management?
Yeah, so our preparation is we are manning up, if you may say so, or we are getting the teams. We are reinforcing the teams. We are getting more team members. We have gotten more technicians, so we've got more work as well. So we are for the next generation. We are creating more teams, O&M teams, also supervisors. But the O&M teams, they will be the next supervisors for next year, the ones that have the capability to do so. I say specifically capability to do so because everyone wants to be a supervisor until they're actually in that spot. And everyone wants to be a manager until they're actually sitting in that manager's seat.
Right.
So we need to recognize also the potential, and we need to also recognize the needs for learning and for teaching people. Right? Sometimes people don't do the correct job simply because they're not being taught to do the correct job. That's it. So
I agree with you.
yeah, so that's how we are doing. We are reinforcing the O&M team. The O&M team will be the base for the supervisors team. We are reinforcing the supervisors team, and they will be the base for the managers, which by themselves will be the base for the good owners, engineers, which is something that we are doing as well.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much for that, Alfonso. So as I say, so if you want to have some further conversation with Alfonso, so don't hesitate to book a one-on-one. So I drop the link there. So that'd be great to have. So I'm also going to drop the link for our different social media platform. If one of you have not yet following us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, please do so. You'll see the link there. I pasted that. So I think we coming towards the end of our sessions. And I just want to run, like I say, so thank you very much for attending that. So that's technical workshop session. So I just want to run a very quick post over here just to get feedback from you, so how you found it. So if you have any last burning questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we're just gonna carry on. So what we want to do is just to run this quick exit poll session. So for you to let us know so whether it has been informative or not, so where we can improve. So how would you rate the sessions? Was it excellent, good? Please, like I say, be open and honest. That's what we want in here. And because your feedback help us to make things better. So how would you rate the sessions? Excellent, good, fair, poor? So which part or session was most valuable to you? So would you say? So a comparison between Vestas Siemens, real world example, when strategy, so innovation in future, and then and obviously would you like to speak, Alfonso? Yeah. So I have to say that maybe I liked more info first. Well, the best way to do that, as I say, just book a meeting with Alfonso and he'll be able to talk to you about that. So one is saying not at the moment, no problem. We respect that. So which part of the yeah, I'm just letting people to vote a little bit. And after that, so why are they doing that, Alfonso? So do you have any last final word, Alfonso, that you want to share? So why people are finishing up the vote?
Um, yeah, just of course, as everyone knows, I am bound to some non-disclosure agreements, so I cannot go into details. That is just the way the work is. Um, but I would definitely like to invite more companies and more technicians and more professionals to go deeper into this industry and look a little bit more into the industry. The ones already here, of course, there is things that we all know that can improve, and there is things that will just take time to improve. But the newcomers into this industry, I would like to invite step into the industry, step into it and grow with the industry, because it is a better, more sustainable future that we are working on. It is the future that we are working on. Let's put it at that. And it's a beautiful industry from a technical perspective. Once you go into a turbine, if you are a mechanical engineer, you'll be overwhelmed on how mechanical with hydraulic, with electrical, everything is bound together and working together in such a highly tech designed product that is just overwhelming to see. It's just amazing to see, and you become such an overall technical expert on such wide field that I invite everyone to jump into the industry.
Excellent. So I think just sharing the feedback here. So it's a 50-50. A couple of people say it was excellent, excellent, they learned a lot. Other people say fair, somewhat helpful. So which would be great for us. So send me a message, me personally, to Tony. So telling me what is that you did or did not like, because I think we value all the feedback. And then which part of the station was most valuable, technical comparison between Vestas and Siemens O&M strategy across regions. That's what I have as well. So a couple of people would like to speak to you, Alfonso. So okay, that's great to know. So I think that's time for us to come to the end of the session. So Alfonso, it was a pleasure for me talking to you as usual, and thank you for the time you've given us for these sessions. So very, I'm sure you're always open for more conversations. And I thank you for all of you for being part of today's workshop. So I think it's been quite insightful. So lots of knowledge. Big thank you to Alfonso and his team sharing practical, detailed insight into O&M, Vestas and Siemens, like I say. So with confidentiality rules, so we have to be careful. So from cross-brand field lesson to future-facing maintenance strategy, I think you will walk away with at least some ideas of how you can apply that in your own project. And I want to keep the conversations going. So if you like to want to have the one-to-one with Alfonso, as I say, so don't hesitate to book a one-to-one with him. And like I say, we thank you as well for responding to the poll, exit poll. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe, inspire, and we look forward to seeing you in our next session. So I can see here, yeah, somebody say thank you for insightful session and for Alfonso for your time today. More than welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Excellent, guys. Take care. We're just gonna finish in music like before.
Thank you all.
Okay, excellent.
Rise of the sun in the morning light. Drums in the distance take flight. Heartbeats echo through the trees. Dancing shadows in the breeze. Feel the pulse of the ancient land. Footprints mark the golden sand. Voices harmonize the song. Nature calls and we belong. Let the rhythm take you high. Raise your hands up to the sky. Feel the energy ignite. Celebrate the day and night. Stars that twinkle in the night so